Shalom, shalom. This is your boy, your friend, your brother, Frenchie the West African, Yasharal. First of all, I want to say all praises and thanks to the Most High Yahuwah Elohim, through the spirit of Yahushua Mashiach. Thank you, Father Yahuwah, for taking care of us in these last days, for giving us knowledge, for watching over us, and for waking us up to our true identity, which is that the so-called Negroes or so-called black people are the real Hebrew Israelite of the Bible. Thank you, Father Yahweh, for everything that you did, for everything that you're doing, and for everything that you're going to do. Thank you. So today's lesson topic in investigation is going to be about the slave trade. Yeah? Because I see a lot of our people, especially on social media or all over the net, speaking out of ignorance when it comes to the topic. Speaking with a lot of bitterness. Yeah, not knowing what truly happened. Not knowing the reasons behind. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I see people of African descent, or should I say so-called slave descendant. Yeah. It's not even politically correct, but anyway. Speaking with a lot of bitterness. Yeah. Towards people on the continent. And I see some people on the African continent speaking with bitterness and ignorance about our brothers and sisters from diaspora. Yeah. And I truly hope that this video, yeah, will make you understand, yeah, the reality and the truth, which is that we are all brothers and sisters and we're the same people. We just have been separated. Yeah. And also it was the will of the Most High, because we did not respect the part of our covenant. Yeah. So if you think that you know everything and that you don't need no help, yeah, you can just skip this video. You don't need to watch this video. But for the ones who want the truth and want to learn and get knowledge, yeah, I'm more than welcome and I'm more than pleased, yeah, to give out this knowledge. So we're gonna get into this investigation together and see what really happened, yeah, and get the truth out. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is the purpose, the whole purpose of this YouTube channel. Yeah, spread truth and knowledge for black people especially. Yeah. So we will see if Israelites sold each other into slavery, yeah, or if it was Africans that sold Israelites into slavery. Yeah, we will see all these things. We will see what really happened. We will see the manipulation that the European used and all that. We will see everything. So stay tuned, and as I always say, there you go. Let's get it.
Probably through a war. You know, there were African middlemen, and they would fight wars with other Africans to enslave them to sell to the white man. Slavery was a huge business for different African kingdoms. You know, the story that we got when we were kids, that your ancestor was out on one Sunday with his girlfriend and some white man jumps out of the bush and throws a net over him. It's not how it happened. Slavery was big business. Africans sold other Africans to the Europeans.
One of the big misconceptions about slavery, at least when I was growing up, was that Europeans somehow captured Africans, put them in chains, stuck them on boats, and then took them to the Americas. The chains and ships bit is true, as is the America part, if you define America as America and not as America. But Africans were living in all kinds of conglomerations, from small villages to city-states to empires, and they were much too powerful for the Europeans to just conquer. And in fact, Europeans obtained African slaves by trading for them. Because trade is a two-way proposition, this meant that Africans were captured by other Africans and then traded to Europeans in exchange for goods, usually like metal tools or fine textiles or guns. And for those Africans, slaves were a form of property, and a very valuable one. In many places, slaves were one of the only sources of private wealth because land was usually owned by the state.
With you, particular brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and the diaspora, and the people from all over Africa, our brothers and sisters from all over Africa. I wish at this point to particularly to apologize deeply on behalf of the chiefs and people of Gold Coast and Ghana for the atrocities the cruelty, the inhuman treatment that were committed 400 years ago by my ancestors during the Atlantic slave trade, where over 400 years ago, millions of our brothers and sisters were captured, sold and transported under inhumane and cruel circumstances through Elmina Castle across to the Caribbeans and to the New World.
That a brother wrote documenting that the Africans are apologizing for their role in slavery to the blacks in America. What is that telling you? That they sold us to the white man. You all been gamed up thinking we African, and some white man went to Africa and stole us. That's a damn lie. The Ghanaians, the Nigerians, the Senegalese, the Cameroonians, them damn the filthy Ethiopians sold blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians to the white man in slavery.
All right. So, bear with me, please, before to do anything, before to start this documentary. I just like to build my case. Yeah. So allow me and bear with me, please. Yeah, allow me to build my case and prove just for the first part. Yeah, that black people are the real descendant of the Israelite, and let me get it from the college textbooks and scholarship. Yeah, please bear with me. Yeah, I'm not gonna be too long. Yeah, I know for certain of y'all really want to get the knowledge about the slave trade, what happened. Yeah, so let's get it. So we're gonna start with Hebrewism in West Africa. Yeah, by Joseph J. Williams. Yeah, Hebrewism of West Africa. All right, and we're gonna go to page 297. Yeah, 297. Please. And let's read the following. So, John Idleby, Master of His Majesty, reveals in the Kingdom of Ireland, published in 1679, a volume on Africa, wherein he speaks of the coast of Guinea as follows. Many Jews also are scattered over this region, some natives boasting themselves of Abraham's seed. Yeah, inhabiting both in the side of River Niger. Yeah. So he says that many Jews are scattered over there. Yeah. Talking about the coast of Guinea. Yeah. Let me show y'all what the coast of Guinea is. Yeah. The coast. Yeah, this is a Western African history. I will use that from the documentary. Yeah. The coast of Guinea. Yeah, is what we call nowadays West Africa. Yeah, is what we call nowadays West Africa. That's the coast of, that's Guinea, the country. Yeah, and all that is the, look, Guinean coast. Yeah, so you got Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, and all that, Liberia, my country, Ivory Coast, or Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah, Ghana, you know what I'm saying? Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Gabon, yeah, and this was the place where they took the slaves from. Yeah, this was the place where they kidnapped the Negroes from. Yeah, and where the Negroes are still living today. You see what I'm saying? So he just told you that many Jews are scattered over there. So when we saying that we are the real Jews, we're not playing. And these devils, yeah, at the top, they have this information and they know who we truly are. Yeah. But anyway, let me build my case. Yeah. I get it from the famous From Babylon to Timbuktu, yeah, by Rudolf Rinzer, yeah. So if you're just guiding this truth and all that, I recommend you to read that, yeah. Yeah, just little tips. All right, so, and we're going to go to page 84, and we're going to read. Check this out, so you're going to understand why he says how many Jews are scattered over there, yeah. So that's another book, not by the same writer, yeah. Check this out now. Check this out. In the year 65 BC, the Roman army under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, the General Vespasian and his sons Titus put an end on the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecutions and slavery. The slave market were full of black Jewish slaves. So, once again, yeah, all this is in the textbooks, yeah. All that is in the textbooks, yeah. All this information, they have it, yeah. They know that we don't read. They know that black people don't read, and they keep this information kind of secret, yeah, by keeping you distracted with all this entertainment and all that nonsense, yeah. So if you want to know the truth, get your books up, yeah. All right, let's go to this book, Huge Thomas, Slave Trade, and I'm going to use that for the documentary too, yeah. Matter of fact, let's read page 146 and 147, yeah. And let's read the following, yeah. A Dominican friar, Fray Francisco de la Cruz, told the Inquisition in Lima, yeah, that an angel had told him that the blacks are, check this out, justly captive by reasons of the sins of their forefathers. Sounds like the Bible to me. And that because of that sin, God gave them that color. Well, so we know for that part is nonsense, because the Most High said that He made man from dust of the ground. What color is the dust of the ground? Or should I say dust of the earth? Black. But anyway, the Dominican explained that the black people were descended from the tribe of Asher. Is that tribe, yeah? He must have meant Issachar. So that killing the flipping 12-star chart. But anyway, and they were so warlike and indomitable that they would upset everyone if they were allowed to live free. So once again, they have this information. They knew who we were before they came to get us from the west and central part of Africa. They know, and all this information is in the college textbooks. Yeah, if you dig, you're gonna find the truth. Yeah, it's not finished. I'm not finished. Yeah, let's go back to From Babylon to Timbuktu. Yeah, let me build my case, please. Allow me. I know y'all want to watch the thing, but please, yeah, bear with me. Yeah, do not skip. Bear with me. Yeah. Yeah, let's go to Babylon Timbuktu again, and we're going to reach page 132 and maybe 133. All right, so let's read that. These facts have peculiar significance when the presence of Judaism, again, yeah, among American Negroes is to be considered. Hundreds of thousands of slaves were brought to America from this Western Africa during the days of the traffic, beginning nearly 400 years ago. Yeah? How much more of Judaism survived among West African Negroes? So y'all keep saying, oh, Africans are my enemies and all that. Yeah? Y'all don't understand nothing. Anyway, in that earlier time, as a persecuted community, they were rather more in danger than other Negroes of being raided by war parties and sold as slaves. Yeah? Y'all get it now? All right, let's go to the other page. Let's read that. Before Dr. Goodby published his book, The Lost Tribes, a Myth, Rabbi Matthew organized a Hebrew congregation in 1918 and proclaimed that the black people of the United States and West Indies are the original Black Hebrews. These are hundreds of thousands of black African Hebrews scattered throughout the United States, not only in the urban area, but also in the rural communities of this nation. With the revelation of an ample historical evidence, the authenticity of these black Hebrews can no longer be questioned. However, in regard to the purity of their Judaism among some of these Jews, that is another issue. Okay, so y'all get it? Yeah, it's all in the college textbooks. Please bear with me. I know it's long, but please bear with me. Yeah, so this is Zendoven, yeah, Bible Compact Dictionary. Yeah, and let's see. We're gonna read a funny definition. Yeah, let's look at the word Ham. Yeah, which is the forefather of the Egyptians, because I know some of my people in America, they believe the Egyptians when they're not nowhere near that. But anyway, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races. Check this out. Not the Negroes. Yeah, stop there. First of all, this definition does not say that you're not African. Yeah, so stop it. But the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. And if you want to get it there, yeah, the Canaanites, this is the land where the Israelites live. So if the Canaanites are Hamites or Africans, best believe the Israelite too. Yeah. He's it didn't see when his father lay drunk, brought a curse upon Cain. Yeah. So it's not really important that part, but the most important part was that, yeah, that Ham is the father of the dark races, not the Negroes. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? And that is the most important part. Because if he's not the father of the Negroes, yeah, who is the father of the Negroes? We know that Japheth was the father of the Europeans. So we can only conclude that Shem, which is the forefathers of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, yeah, we can only conclude that Shem is indeed the father of the Negroes. Yeah? So, y'all need to understand that this is our history. This Bible, this is us. This is our history. Yeah? But let's get in there. Please bear with me. I know it's long, but bear with me. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, the famous Deuteronomy 28. And I recommend, if you do not know anything about this truth, yeah, please read Deuteronomy 28 on your own one day. And you will see that it resembles very much of what is happening to black people and what had happened to black people. Yeah. All right. So let's read Deuteronomy chapter 68. Yeah. Deuteronomy 28. Verse 68. Yeah. And we read. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt. But Egypt is a significant for slavery. Believe me, you're going to get it. Again, with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, yeah, for bound men, yeah, slave men, and bound women, slave women, and no man shall buy you, meaning no one will save you. But if you want to get some more understanding, let's go to Exodus, yeah, let's go to Exodus, yeah, go to Exodus. Yeah. Exodus chapter 20. So Exodus chapter 20. Yeah. And we want verse 2. Yeah. Check this out. I am Yahuwah your Elohim, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Bondage meaning slavery. So when he says go back to Egypt, it means go back to slavery. Yeah? And what people went to slavery in ships? Yeah? What kind of people? I'll let you guess. Yeah? Let's keep it moving. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Yeah, once again, and we want verse 48. Please bear with me. I know y'all want to watch the documentary and getting started, but please bear with me. Yeah, and it's 3. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies which Yahuwah, so the Most High, shall send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So the Most High said that these people will put a yoke of iron upon our necks. Yeah? Upon our necks. Oh, come on, people. Like, for real. What's that? Is it not us? Is this book not talking about us? Please. Please. Let's keep it moving. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And we want what? We want verse 64. Let's check this out. Verse 64. Check this out. Yeah? And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, yeah, some next gods, yeah, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, yeah. Funny thing, the cross is in wood. Funny thing, the stone is the Kaaba of Mecca. Got it? Yeah, got it. Y'all need to wake up. We need to wake up. This book is our history. This is Black people history from beginning to end. Yeah? We need to wake up. Yeah? Deuteronomy chapter 28 still, yeah? Still. Yeah? And we want verse 49. Yeah, just down. This. And Yahuwah shall bring a nation against you from far. Yeah? Not running to us like was Edom. Yeah, so if you think that white people are Edomite, you got it all wrong. From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Nothing to do with eagles on their flags. A nation whose tongues thou shalt not understand. When they came to us, we did not understand this English and this Portuguese. Yeah, check this out. A nation of 3 continents, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. Yes, these people had no pity on us. So, once again, this is our history. Got it.
You guys are the true Hebrewites, I'm for real. Okay. Yes, because you guys were taken from the shore seas of Africa. I'm African, I know we are taught. Okay. This country to be blessed because of Africans here, not the white people here now. Right. Yes, because God is protecting you guys. When 400 years come, He's going to take you guys back to where you guys belong. So you are African? Yes. So we're not Africans over here, is what you're saying? No, you guys are Africans too, but you're the true Hebrewites. Okay.
Really, Africans, they don't know about the slave trade before.
Right.
They fight sometimes, some tribal fight. Yeah, but it's only fight. But they don't keep brothers to make them slaves.
Right.
Only Europeans bring slave trade on Africa.
Right.
That's why the history say why if when the Europeans stay in Europe, so the Africans don't know about slaves.
All right.
Yeah. So they can't keep my brother, take everything, resource, oil, diamond, everything.
African slavery had existed for centuries in various forms. Some slaves were indentured servants, with a limited term and the chance to buy one's freedom. Others were more like European serfs. In some societies, slaves could be part of a master's family, own land, and even rise to positions of power.
Okay, so let's get a precept from what we just seen in the videos. Yeah, a little precept. Yeah, and let's get it from the college textbooks, Western African History, Volume 1, Robert O. Collins. Yeah, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go to page 152. I'm not wrong. Yeah, 152. Right. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah. Check this out. Slave trade. Yeah. Let's read. In traditional African societies, slavery was an established institution long before the arrival of the Europeans. But the slave was principally a domestic servant with rights and respect, whose value depended more on the prestige that he accorded his masters as a retainer than his economic value as a plantation field hand. Yeah? So y'all need to understand that in the mind of people in Africa, they did not know what slavery was, basically. Yeah? We've seen two different documentaries. Yeah? That's the third precept that we got, basically. Yeah? From the college textbook. Yeah? A slave to the African mind is not somebody that you beat up and all that. Yeah? So you cannot make a comparison between slavery that our people faced with the white man, because they have a total different understanding of what a slave is. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? So understand. It is way different. Understand that. Let's keep it moving. All right. So let's get back to Western African History, the book, volume 1, yeah, by Robert O. Collins. So it is important to understand the involvement of the Muslims, or should I say the Arabs, in the trade, because they began the trade 700 years before the European, and they were trading black as slaves. Y'all following? So we need to understand that. Yeah, a lot of times people say, "Oh, we don't know what the Arabs did." Blah 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 blah. The Arabs did a lot of things. If y'all don't know, yeah, they did a lot of things, and they keep doing it up to this day. Yeah, so very, 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 very important to understand the involvement of the Arabs. Yeah, you can hear the real Edomites. Yeah, in the slave trade. Yeah, so let's go back to the book, yeah, and then we're going to read from page 152, yeah. Let's read. Here we go. Yeah. Let's get it in. Here we go. Remember we read that before, yeah. Slavery in the African mind, it was just servants. It was not slave that you beat up, yeah. And check this out. Moreover, yeah, slavery in Africa never involved many people except in regions where Islamic states had extended the trade in slaves, or where a rudimentary plantation system such as that existing in Benin requires cheap labor. You see what I'm saying? So it is very important to understand the involvement of the Arabs in the trade. Very important, yeah? And get documented on the Sub Saharian slave trade, please. I'll show a little video after when I get the source from the college textbooks, yeah? So slave trade, huge times again, yeah? That big book, yeah? So let's get it. Page 23, yeah? Page 23, yeah? And let's read. The seizure of slaves rather than their purchase was then a far from unusual practice in both Europe and Africa. These razzias, as the oldest practice of man stealing was known, were carried out throughout the Middle Ages in Spain and Africa by what? Muslims. Again, merchants and their Christian equivalents had done the same. Muslims were justified by the Quran in seizing Christians and enslaving them. The Christians, in their long drawn out reconquest of Muslim Spain, had conducted themselves similarly. You see what I'm saying? So understand, the Muslims were justified by the Quran to enslave any non-believer. Yeah? And the Bible does not state that you gotta enslave people. So I don't know what those Christians, yeah, talk about, you know what I'm saying, they got to do with it. But anyway, let's keep it moving. We need to understand that because the Arabs is the beginning of the trade. You're following me? It's the beginning. They're basically the reason why the Europeans came down Africa. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's something we need to understand. Yeah. So let's read page 58 now. Let's read page 58. Yeah. So let's read that. The Portuguese soon began to buy rather than kidnap slaves. Wow, really? Oh my gosh, I did not know. People don't understand. It's not only a matter of Africans sold each other to slavery. You need to understand what really happened for real. Yeah? Check this out. Fernandez did remain, which is a Portuguese, did remain in Africa for a year, won over the local people, and learned of a market where both slaves and gold might be exchanged for quite modest European goods. A year later, he told Antonio Gonzalez, who revealed to him that he had met Ahud Maiman, a Muslim merchant who owned some black slaves, whom he desired to sell. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? And that's the city, Arguin. Yeah, Arguin is the city. Arguin was the center of this transaction, the first of 100 of thousands such as carried out by the Europeans over the next 400 years. So, y'all need to understand, these Arabs inspires these Europeans, the Muslims, yeah, under the Edomite religion, yeah, the aka Arabs, aka the real Edomites, they inspired the Europeans to come down to Africa to get blacks as slaves, yeah, because they were the first to do it in the first place. The Arabs started trading blacks as slaves 700 years before the Europeans. So y'all need to get that in your little mind, your little brains, yeah, before they speak ignorance, yeah. And for the ones that did not know and that are willing to learn, there you go. You can learn more about it, yeah. Let's keep it moving. Let's read that, page 60, yeah. Page 60 of this book. Let's read that, yeah. Had not the Arabs been accustomed to exchange Berber horses for slaves, the Portuguese did the same. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and they followed these Arabs. That is tremendously funny that no one wants to learn about this. Yeah? Let's read page 61 now. Let's read page 61. Yeah, let's see what it's saying. His main trading partners were the Arabs in the Maghreb, with whom he could exchange more beneficially his Inuit, so black people basically, or kind of called, I think it's like Ethiopians or something like that, and other slaves in much greater number than he could sell to the Portuguese in their pretty boats. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? So once again, it's all connected. The Arabs starting they keep continuing their trade of blacks, and the Portuguese coming on the scene, discovering that the Arabs making money and all that. it all makes sense. And if you want to get it very straight, this is the will of the Most High. He brought this evil upon us because we did not respect our part of the covenant that we made with him, because we are the real Israelite. Yeah. So much situations and stuff for us to just believe that it was just we were just unlucky. You know what I'm saying? This is I don't believe that. I don't believe in coincidence. Yeah, the word of the Most High is true. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? The word of the Most High is true. Yeah? Very true. Yeah? So, once again, we'll try to keep it moving and see if we can find some more information. Yeah? Here you go. Page 114, and we read, as yet the traffics in African slaves to Europe or the Indies was small in comparison with the ever-flourishing trade across the Sahara. Once again, the Arabs, because Sahara, yeah, is basically North Africa, where near the Maghreb, which is basically the place of the Arabs. So, y'all need to understand and get it straight, yeah, when you get your facts about the slave trade. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of y'all did not know anything about it. Yeah, so, once again, let's keep it moving.
That I too, among hundreds of millions of educated people, was under the impression that the African slave trade was the sole responsibility of the Christian Europeans, the white race. That is, until I started exploring the subject in greater depth, and especially after reading an incredibly enlightening book called The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa by John Alambila Azuma. My whole perspective and understanding has changed dramatically, and I would like you to tell us more about this subject.
The success of Muhammadan Islam in deceiving, misinforming, deforming, and contorting both history and reality over a period of almost 1400 years has been astounding. That is, until now. The greatest tragedy about this particular subject is that most of the descendants of African slavery, the black people in the Americas, around the world, as well as among the African blacks, are totally ignorant of the actual facts. Before we lose the concentration of our listeners, I would like to make the following statement and then prove it. That the worst, most inhumane and most diabolical institution of the black African slave trade was initiated, refined, perpetrated, and implemented by the Mohammedan Arabs and later aided and abetted by the black converts to Mohammedan Islam. I predict that, as usual, the two subcultures, those of denial of facts and of political correctness, will attack us without once disproving a single statement and or conclusion that we make. Slavery was not created by the white races, because it has existed throughout human history and practiced by every tribe, culture, civilization, racial group, and religion. In fact, the very word slavery has its root in the name Slav, based upon the Slavic peoples of Europe who were subjugated by other Europeans. It is not common knowledge that the Arabic word abd is synonymous with the meaning of slave. For example, Abdullah means literally the slave of Allah, and that in the language of the Arabs, all black peoples are called abid, plural, for slaves. While much has been written concerning the transatlantic slave trade, surprisingly little attention has been paid to the Islamic slave trade across the Sahara, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. While the European involvement in the African transatlantic slave trade to the Americas lasted for just over 3 centuries, the Arab involvement in the African slave trade has lasted 14 centuries, and in some parts of the Mohammedan world is still continuing to this day. The birth of Mohammedan Islam and its conquests brought about the birth of institutionalized, systematized, and religiously sanctioned slave trade on a massive and global scale.
established to make money for royal families and wealthy colonists, and a small class of wealthy colonists who owned large plantations looked to increase their margins through not paying for the labor that generated their cash crops. So it wasn't that slavery was needed to develop the colonies, but rather that it was decided that this was the quickest way to enrich the people invested in getting rich. Black slaves continued to arrive in the Caribbean, North America, and South America through the 16th, 17th, and 18th century, and it wasn't until the 19th century that slavery began to be eradicated. However, by this point, there was a large slave population in the Americas, and the condition of slavery was considered legally hereditary, with children taking the status of their mothers in perpetuity. When Europeans arrived in the Americas, colonists found that the previously established system that relied on enslaving conquered enemies was not functioning for several key reasons. Namely, first, early attempts in the Americas to enslave Native Americans proved difficult because they had familiarity with the terrain of their own nations and land. As a result, the potential for escape or revolt was high. This made using a system of leading raids and then enslaving whoever lost the battle less achievable, since colonists had little to no idea how to survive in these new regions and often fell prey to diseases which Europeans had no immunity to, namely malaria. The subsequent rampant genocide of Native American people and the introduction of new diseases that decimated their population, namely smallpox from Europe, made widespread enslavement less possible. But by transporting people from West Africa to the Americas, European colonists wanted greater ability to control enslaved populations by making escape more challenging and reducing the risk of those who did flee blending into neighboring native nations. Although the fact that there continued to be slave revolts amongst enslaved Africans and their descendants proves that this calculation was often mistaken. Second, West Africa was often the source of forced and kidnapped laborers because of its proximity to seaports, which made contact between these three locations more possible. Also, laborers from West African countries were more familiar with the agricultural methods needed for mass cultivation of these kinds of crops in the New World.
But the Atlantic slave trade began in the late 1400s with Portuguese colonies in West Africa and Spanish settlement of the Americas shortly after. The crops grown in the new colonies, sugarcane, tobacco, and cotton, were labor-intensive, and there were not enough settlers or indentured servants to cultivate all the new land. American natives were enslaved, but many died from new diseases, while others effectively resisted. And so, to meet the massive demand for labor, the Europeans looked to Africa.
All right, y'all. So we're still dealing with the importance of the slave trade. Yeah. So we now realize that these Europeans were making a lot of money off of the trade of slaves, and also off of the new plantation that is discovered in the world. Yeah. So we're gonna get some understanding from the college textbooks. Once again, this book is African Slavery in Latin America and the Caribbean, second editions, yeah, by Herbert S. Klein, Ben Vinson 3. All right, so we're gonna go to page. We're gonna go to page 53. Yeah, 53. You can get some understanding. Yeah, as you realize, I think, yeah. As we go in step by steps, I think you kind of realize that there's too much that adds up together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Why? Once again, this was the will of the Most High, and no one can stop the Most High. Yeah. And that's something that we need to understand as a people. Let's get it. Increasing the sugar production brought with it increasing slave arrival. And by 1683, the major French islands had some 20,000 slaves. These were mostly carried to the islands by French slave traders who had recently penetrated the Senegambia region of Africa. You see what I'm saying? So, once again, they needed a labor force, and cheap labor force. Yeah? And looking up towards Africa was the better way to do it. Yeah, once again, the Father made it possible because He poured His wrath upon us because we did not respect our part of the covenant with the Most High. So I'm saying, because we are the chosen people, yeah, and that's something that we need to understand before we need to understand the slave trade, yeah. I know some of y'all are skeptics and then don't wanna believe in this truth, but believe me, when you're deep in these books, yeah, all these books about slavery and all that, I am telling you that, and deep in the Bible as well, they all add up together. So I do not believe in coincidence anymore. For sure. Yeah. So we back in Slave Trade by H. Thomas. Yeah. And then we are reading page 90. We're going to page 90 quickly. Yeah. Get some more understanding on the importance of the slave trade. Yeah. No, matter of fact, sorry, we're gonna go to page. We're gonna go to page 96. Yeah, we're gonna go to page 96. Yeah, because arrival of slave, and remember, they was also using the Indians or the indigenous Indians in America. Yeah. The natives, they were using them, but they could not use them anymore because, you know what I'm saying, this was their land, they die off of disease and all this kind of stuff. And one more thing as well that we're going to read about, yeah, so in 1511, a complicated controversy was beginning about the treatment of the indigenous people of America. I know y'all trying to say that y'all Indians. Check this out. The arguments lasted 40 years. And it much to do the credit of Spain that there was such a debate. What other empires can boast such a discussion and at so high level? During the year 1511 or 13, the most searching questions that any imperial nation can ask of itself were at least posed. But a discussion as to whether the Indians were men and whether if it was permissible to enslave them completely ignored the status of black African slaves with their greater experience of agriculture, their greater endurance, and their longer connection with Europe. So, got it? Yeah? When I'm telling you that this is the will of the Most High, y'all don't understand. Yeah, I mean, some of us do understand. Yeah, now that people are awakening to this truth, but it's all there. It's all in these books. It's they putting it in these books because they know that we're not going to read. You see what I'm saying? And that's my concern, and that's the reason why I'm doing this whole documentary for y'all to understand. Yeah, and shouts out to y'all that was trying to say that y'all Indians in America. Yeah, so y'all some fools. Yeah, because you do not receive that treatment. Yeah, people don't think, I never thought that you were a man. Yeah, but anyway, let's keep it moving. I just want to slip that in. Let's go to page 92. Let's go back to page 92 and let's read. Yeah, let's read. Africans too were better able to work with horses than were indigenous Indian, for the Mandingo and the Fula and the Wolof people at least had a equestrian tradition. A 1511 report to the king will declare that the work of one black slave was equal to that of 4 Indians. Got it? Yeah, that's the importance, and that's what I'm telling you. This is the will of the Most High. I do not believe in coincidence anymore. It makes no sense to me. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to page 138. Yeah, 138 and get some understanding, because it's all going to make sense. These plantations represented substantial investment. All the same, one must keep a sense of proportion here also. In the last 16th century, the value of the slave trade to the Portuguese crown was, through taxes per slave and so on. You see that number? Yeah, 100,000. Yeah, cruzados. But the eastern trade of Portugal yielded 2 million. They were making money. Yeah, so best believe that this trade of slaves were important. Yeah, it was important. You see what I'm saying? And the Most High made it this way This is the algorithm of the Most High. The wrath of the Most High coming upon us. Yeah? I told you, and I keep saying that I do not believe in coincidence anymore. It makes no sense for me. Because when I put all these books together and all that, yeah? All these books together and all that, it makes perfect sense when I line it up with the Bible. Yeah? So, let's carry on. Let's carry on.
And the modern name of Dahomey. Stories about human sacrifice and barbarism here were favorite travelers' tales in the 18th century. Traders were far more fearful of Dahomey's kings than they were of Ashanti's. The kingdom expanded rapidly in the 1700s, conquering all who stood in its way. Many people took refuge in isolated places. At the end of the last century, the royal court covered 100 acres, and 10,000 people lived inside its walls. Today, the palaces are being restored by Joseph Adande.
The kings of Dahomey traded a lot of slaves. Abomey has traded, from the figures we know now, not far from 1 million people.
Just from Abomey alone.
Just from Abomey alone. And you have more from the neighboring kingdoms, Sabi Kingdom, for instance, Port Novo Kingdom, etc., etc.
All the way down to Lagos in Nigeria.
Yes, all the way to Lagos in Nigeria. And the cannons you can see here are the sign of the slave trade, because they would buy a cannon against 25 gentlemen.
Do the citizens of Benin today, through the schools or publicly, talk about this history of the slave trade when the people of Dahomey sold other black people to the white man and then shipped them to the New World?
We do not talk much about slave trade, slavery, because for most of Beninese people, 300 years back is a lot. Those who have been to school know about slave trade, know about what happened to their brothers sold to the New World. And a few months back, we had the bicentenary of the death of King Agonglo. And Agonglo was said to be one of the kings who tried to stop slave trade. But of course, he did not succeed.
But he must have known how bad it was.
Yes, he knew. They knew how bad it was. That was why they didn't trade their own people. They would trade people from the wars and battles they did all around the country.
Well, there's no attempt to explain away anything here. This recently restored artwork on the palace walls tells the whole story.
The kings of Dahomey carried a lot of war. There was almost every year a war. This image again shows you that we are dealing with Yoruba people, because you can see the scars on their faces. And this gentleman has been beheaded again because, he lost.
But there's so many images on these panels.
Yes.
Of violence, of conquering.
Yes.
Was it a particularly violent kingdom?
Well, people say and pretend that it is a particularly violent kingdom, but I have not seen throughout history any conqueror not being violent. Have you ever come across someone who is conquering and is not violent?
Generally, people conquer by violence.
Okay, so that's this kingdom. They did, of course, cultivate the art of superiority, and each king had to train his son to be a warrior, to be someone who is greedy of power, of expanding all over.
All right, so we're going towards the end, nearly the end of this full documentary, and we're going to deal with the fact that Israelite tribes sold other Israelite onto slavery. Yes. So this is the more fragile part of this documentary. Yeah. So believe what you want to believe, but the fact is there. Yeah. And let's explain why the dads sold each other. You see what I'm saying? Because it's too easy to say, yeah, Africans sold Africans into slavery for the white man to get away with the guilt of what they did to our people. And also for the ABC campers dummies, yeah, that like this division among black people to say that, yeah, Africans sold us into slavery and we're not African, we got nothing to do with them. Yeah, let's shut both of these devils down. All right, so we're gonna still in slave trade, yeah, by you Summers, and then we're gonna go to page 58 and see what he has to say. Go to page 58. This knowledge, yeah, we got it. I gotta give this knowledge away because I don't want my people to remain ignorant. Yeah, no more ignorance. Yeah, all right. Let's read now. Page 58. The king of the Wolof, yeah, that's a tribe in Africa, yeah, was poor and a youth of about his own age who supported himself largely by raiding neighbors and selling the captives to Moorish. Hang on, I swear some black people trying to say they're Moors and all that. Anyway, or even Azanagi merchants. Yeah? So, it says that the king of Wolof was raiding neighbors. Yeah? And also some Wolof end up as slaves. It is a fact. Y'all don't understand what happened. It was a big plot. Yeah? It started with our ignorance as people, and then it ended up in a big plot against us. Yeah? And I'm gonna elaborate, and y'all gonna understand if you have not understood from the beginning. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, let's keep it moving. Yeah, let's go to another book. West African history once again. Yeah. And we want page 147. We want page 147. Yeah. And let's read. Be blurry, I hope y'all can see. Let's get it. The second influence that shaped the Forest Kingdom was the arrival of the Europeans and the development of the slave trade. Many authors have attributed the rise and the growth in power of these states to the acquisition of the European firearms in return for what? For slaves. So, best believe that the Europeans had to make sure that we keep fighting each other. But y'all don't get it. Yeah? Keep going. They don't want you to go read these books because they know that once you read and see the accounts and see what they really did, you're going to understand and stop with the division. But anyway, let's keep it going. And the slave trade had been regarded by past historians of Africa as a sole and sufficient explanation for the rise and the fall of the coastal states. You see what I'm saying? So people are trying to say, oh yeah, the Africans got rich and they got money. You see rise and fall. Is Africa rich today? I mean, the resources, yeah. But money, Africa is poor, my friend. It's the poorest place on the earth. But anyway, once equipped with guns, sounds like what we're doing today, yeah? Black and black crime. The Ashanti, the Fan, the Oyo, and the Beni were able to expand at the expense of their neighbors. So all of them, they were neighbors. They were fighting each other because they got guns from the Europeans. Yeah? Founding kingdoms on the spiral of violence. Slave for guns. European firearms. Y'all don't get it, yeah? Which led the more slave for more guns. Certainly the European factor contributed to the growth as well as the ultimate decay of the forest states, but it is an increasingly unsatisfactory basic for the interpretation of their origins. So, basically talking about the growth of the, towards the end, he's talking about the growth of these kingdoms. Yeah, to say that slave trade was the reason why this kingdom grew was not really real. It's not the only reason. They were trading many other goods and stuff. yeah, and we're gonna examine that, yeah. So once again, slave for guns, and who was given the guns, and who was given the slaves? Y'all don't understand. These devils put that in the books. They know that you're not gonna read. They know that you're gonna stand up in street corners like these Hebrew Israelites dummies, yeah, not knowing their own history, yeah, and talking about how much you hate Africans because they're sold into slavery, not knowing that it was a plot from the flipping Europeans from the beginning, and also that it was the will of the Most High, because we're the chosen people, we're the real Israelites, yeah. Well, let's keep it moving. Let's go to page. Let's go to page 157. Yeah. And let's read. Yeah. Initially, the primary commodity in Portugal's trade with Benin was peppers, obtained through the coastal port of the Guato, but pepper was soon replaced by slaves. Remember, we just read that it's not only slave trade that got it. They got these kingdoms powerful. Yeah. Matter of fact, slave trade contributed to the downfall. But anyway, the slave for the plantation island of Sao Tome and Fernando. So these places are in Africa. For those who don't know, people were also enslaved in Africa. As the demand for slaves increased in the response to the expansion of plantation economies in the New World, the Delta villages became major suppliers and rival of Benin. So understand, it was a plot. Yeah, don't be ignorant. Don't be ignorant, my brothers and sisters. Seriously. We need to get this wisdom. We need to understand that they put these informations in this book and they don't want us to read them. They keep us busy with loving hip-hop and all that nonsense, yeah, when we're supposed to read these books to get the knowledge and to have the peace of mind. Yeah, let's keep it moving. Slave Trade by Hugh Thomas. Yeah, matter of fact, I had my peace of mind since I started studying these books plus the scriptures and understanding that Black people are the real Israelite. Yeah. So let's go back to Slave Trade by H. Thomas. Yeah. And then we are going to read page 108. Yeah, page 108. Yeah. Page 108. Yeah. Sorry. Trying to make it so it's visible for everybody. Let's keep it moving. Yeah. And let's read. Yeah, so some of the slaves have been captured in battle. Yeah, I showed you. Others are sent by their parents who think they are doing their children the best service in the world by sending them to be sold in this way to other lands where there is an abundance of provisions. Yeah, I swear I heard it somewhere. I heard that before. That sounds familiar for those who y'all don't believe that. Yeah, that sounds familiar. That's a total different book. Yeah, let's go to page 179 and let's see, because I swear I heard that before reading a completely different book. Yeah. 179. Yeah, let's read. Great caravans of Negroes come here bringing gold and slaves for sale. Some of the slaves have been captured in battle. Others are sent by their parents. Same thing, exact same thing. Who think they are doing their children the best service in the world by sending them to be sold in this way to other lands where there is an abundance of provision. You know why it's the same thing? Because this is the same person in the same icons. This is fact. Facts. Yeah? So when y'all want to speak so much, oh, how much you're different than Africans, yeah? some of these slaves, yeah, were actually sent by their parents that their parents were thinking that they were doing the birth service to the children, yeah, sold them to the Europeans because they thought that the Europeans were rich. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And also, yeah, these Europeans used to lie about, yeah, they will get educations to their children. Yeah, it's real. They still do it up to this day. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it moving. Let's go to page 165 now. We need this knowledge. Yeah? All of us need this knowledge. Yeah? For real. Because if we remain ignorant, this is how they play on us. In the New World, so page 165, yeah. In the New World, the colonies found themselves receiving blacks from all parts of Africa in her will about this time. For example, in Cartagena de Indias, Maria de Barros left 4 American-born Africans, 3 Angolians, 3 Araras Dahomians, 2 Lukumis Yorubas, 1 Congolese, and 1 from Biafra. Basically, Biafra, it will basically be more likely than Igbo. Yeah, so I don't understand. These people have this recorded that they took people from this and that tribe. They know, because they know that this tribe were at war with each other. So I don't know why people want to say that we're so different. Yeah? It may be 400 years between you and me, but we're not that much different. We have the same ancestors. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So y'all need to stop with the nonsense. I just wanted to slip that in, yeah, to make understand that we sold each other. Yeah, but there was a reason. Yeah. These guns that the Europeans gave us, and they made sure that we will stay fighting with each other. Yeah. Let's read page 146. Yeah, it's all over the place. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, but I really want y'all to understand. So let's read that. Yeah. So that's the account of a Dominican friar. Yeah, a Dominican friar. Yeah, that had been in Mexico. Yeah, I think his name is Tomas de Mercado. Yeah. And look what it says right here. But he also described vividly how so many slaves, check this out, were obtained through kidnapping or trickery. Trickery. Even if the kidnappers were obtained, and trickers were usually Africans, the high prices offered for slaves by Europeans, again, he pointed out, also encouraged the African monarch to raid each other's lands and even persuade fathers to sell their children. We just read that. Sometimes out of a spite. So stop with the coonery, y'all people. Stop with the coonery. We need to get this wisdom and knowledge. Yeah, we cannot remain ignorant. This is how they want us to be. Yeah. At each other's neck. Yeah. Oh, you did that. Oh, you this and that. We cannot remain ignorant. Yeah. We need this truth and wisdom. We need it urgently. The scripture says that my people suffer for lack of knowledge. This is us, black people. The Bible speaks of us. And I'm showing all of this for you to understand that. Yeah. Because it's not by coincidence that this happened to us. This is not by coincidence that these people got us at each other's neck, basically. Yeah? This is not by coincidence. And this is the harsh reality. We sold each other to slavery. Why? Because we were ignorant. Why? Because this was the will of the Most High. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because the Most High brings our enemies, yeah, to manipulate us to do so. This is the ugly truth about the slave trade. You see what I'm saying, y'all people? Yeah?
Ankles. And the gams, that's a European scam. The Europeans bring this gun, give to Africans tribals, organized fighting.
Right.
Because Africans don't know guns.
Right.
The Africans don't know gun. All African leaders don't know gun. So the Europeans, they have to give this one to African tribals to organize fighting.
Okay.
That's why today we have this gun. We call this one African's gun. It's African's gun because the Africans put some things like to protect.
Right.
Yeah, it's like this one. But really, Africans, they don't know about the slave trade before.
But when white captains came offering manufactured goods, weapons, and rum for slaves, African kings and merchants had little reason to hesitate. They viewed the people they sold not as fellow Africans, but criminals, debtors, or prisoners of war from rival tribes. By selling them, kings enriched their own realms and strengthened them against neighboring enemies. African kingdoms prospered from the slave trade, but meeting the Europeans' massive demand created intense competition. Slavery replaced other criminal sentences, and capturing slaves became a motivation for war rather than its result. To defend themselves from slave raids, neighboring kingdoms needed European firearms, which they also bought with slaves. The slave trade had become an arms race, altering societies and economies across the continent. As for the slaves themselves, they faced unimaginable brutality. After being marched to slave forts on the coast, shaved to prevent lice, and branded, they were loaded onto ships bound for the Americas. About 20% of them would never see land again, and curb rebellion. What happened to those Africans who reached the New World, and how the legacy of slavery still affects their descendants today, is fairly well known. But what is not often discussed is the effect that the Atlantic slave trade had on Africa's future. Not only did the continent lose tens of millions of its able-bodied population, but because most of the slaves taken were men, the long-term demographic effect was even greater. When the slave trade was finally outlawed in the Americas and Europe, the African kingdoms whose economies it had come to dominate collapsed, leaving them open to conquest and colonization. And the increased competition and influx of European weapons fueled warfare and instability that continues to this day. The Atlantic slave trade also contributed to the development of racist ideology. Most African slavery had no deeper reason than legal punishment or intertribal warfare, but the Europeans who preached a universal religion and who had long ago outlawed enslaving fellow Christians needed justification for a practice so obviously at odds with their ideals of equality. So they claimed that Africans were biologically inferior and destined to be slaves, making great efforts to justify this theory. Thus, slavery in Europe and the Americas acquired a racial basis, making it impossible for slaves and their future descendants to attain equal status in society. In all of these ways, the Atlantic slave trade was an injustice on a massive scale.
From the Volta River in Ghana through Togo, Benin, Dahomey, and Nigeria, what you have without the artificial boundaries by the Europeans is Ewe Nyugba, Ewe land, or Hebrew land. We used to be one people, speaking the same Ewe tongue. One will ask, how did we then lose the Hebrew tongue and now have so many dialects? Well, it's interesting, but wars have been fought, both interesting and sad. The wars have been fought, and many have died because of the problem of variation of dialect. And because of the lack of written history, we did not know we were fighting our own brothers and sisters. Who said we don't speak Ewe? Who said we don't still speak Hebrew? Who said the original Ewe tongue is lost?
Be unstoppable if we became unified. So in order to protect their best interests, they had to make sure that this never happened. The Europeans told the enslaved Africans on the plantation throughout North and South America that they were different from Africans on the continent. They told them that they were better. They were not the same and that they were more civilized. They wanted to make sure we never thought about or considered going back home. So they painted a picture of Africa as being a land of nothing but dust, no civilization, no technology, and filled with savages. Although this was far from the truth, but they had to make sure that we had no desire to go back to our ancestral home.
They also needed to create animosity. So they fed us a lie that our own people sold us into slavery. They said, your people didn't want you. They sold you. They're the ones to blame. They hate you. I actually have a video called The Truth About Slavery, which will address this in great detail. And you'll realize that we were lied to. That video will be linked in the description. So all of this was done to keep black people right here exactly where they wanted us. But again, on the flip side, continental Africans were also being lied to. They were being told that Americans, West Indians, and so on don't like them. They were being told that North and South American blacks have no culture. They're constantly seeing negative images of us in the media. So they're led to believe that we are in fact the ones that dislike them. And with all the negative imagery the media love to put out there, the movies, the news, and even social media, they're being drawn into the propaganda that we're all criminals, hate them, have no culture, and are simply wild and disrespectful. All of this was being told to both sides by the same group of people. The same group of people that had an agenda to keep us separated. Why do you think the slave masters didn't want our ancestors on the plantation to ever speak their original languages? There's a reason for everything. They didn't want us to have any connection with Africa. It's like a school playground. One kid goes to another kid and says, hey, I'm only telling you this because I like you. But that kid over there hates you and doesn't like you. They said all this mean stuff about you. Then that same kid goes and runs to the other kid and says the same thing. Hey, you know I'm your friend, right? So I had to tell you, but that kid doesn't like you and said all of this stuff about you. Now you've got these two random kids who never actually said anything bad about each other, and now they're fighting. Whilst the kid that was running around spreading the rumors about both of them is sitting in the middle watching both of them fight for their own amusement, while they are seen as the good one by both sides. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? I've seen people make videos distancing themselves from African people and referring to themselves as DOS, descendants of slaves, claiming that we share nothing in common with people born in Africa. What a lot of these people that make these videos don't realize is we're playing right into their hands. We're doing exactly what they want us to do, which is remain disconnected and not unified.
Many West African nations and tribes have issued apologies for their role in the transatlantic slave trade. Read that again for all you Pan-African, I'm Africa, oh Mama Africa people, man, that think you some damn African. The Africans sold you into slavery, and right now they are apologizing for their role. Read it again. Many West African nations and tribes have issued apologies. Have issued what? Apology. Have issued what? Apology. You're only going to apologize if you do something wrong. And what them Africans did to black people was wrong. Was 400 years of a crime that they benefited. They got paid for each black man they sold into slavery. And you gonna come up here and tell me about Christ Rastafari? Damn the Ethiopians, man. Damn you Africans. And you are going to serve slavery under a black man called Jesus Christ. Read.
Because of not knowing the real details behind this apology, you have misinformed statements and wrong conclusions drawn by the author of the article that the brother in the video was reading. We have to be careful. We cannot read materials from Google and run off with it. The bare bones information we know of the transatlantic slave trade is that, number one, some African people sold fellow Africans to non-Africans for personal gains. This is false. Hamitic Africans did not sell fellow Hamitic Africans into slavery. Or did they sell their family members into slavery, like it was portrayed in the opening scene in the film Amistad, where a family sold a fellow family member into slavery? That is complete falsehood. Nowhere in African history did Hamitic Africans sell family or relatives into slavery. Number two, some Hamitic Africans sold Negroes or Hebrews for personal gains. This is half-truth. It is not only Hamitic Africans, but also Negroes, Hebrews, also sold fellow Negroes or Hebrews into slavery as well. Therefore, the correct statement about the transatlantic slave trade should then be Hamitic Africans and some Hebrews sold Hebrews to non-Africans for personal gains. Or Africans and some Hebrews sold Hebrews to non-Africans for personal gains. Or we can word it further. Africans and some Negroes sold Negroes to non-Africans for personal gain. My point is, Hebrews also sold fellow Hebrews as slaves for personal gain. This is fact. The strip of land in West Africa that was once called the Slave Coast stretched from the Volta River in Ghana through Togo, modern-day Benin, which was called Dahomey, and Nigeria. These four countries that now occupy this stretch of land was one territory before the Europeans divided the African continent to define their trade zones in 1844. The result is the current Africa as most people know it today. However, Evenigba, Hebrew land, was the name of this strip of land that now houses these four countries. The people that occupied this stretch of land were called Eves, Hebrews, or Eveville, Hebrew people. Because my brother mentioned Benin, let us focus on Benin. Let us focus on Dahomey. The people of Dahomey are from the tribe of Dan, modern-day Benin. An in-depth knowledge of their oral history, knowledge of their culture and tradition compares to information in the Torah. Their landmarks and city names agree with similar names in the Torah as well. The name Dahomey is actually a compound name. Da is the name of their ancestor and Home means home. When you put together, you get the home of Dan, specifically the home of the tribe of Dan. When you watch my video on the 12 tribes chart, you will get more information about the tribe of Dan. The link is going to be in the description box. Those camps who shout on these streets, we are Hebrew Israelites and not Africans. The Africans sold us into slavery and we have no relationship with them. For your information, the majority of the victims of the transatlantic slave trade met their fate at the hands of fellow Hebrews. Hebrew on Hebrew crime. Do not be surprised. Do not think it's unheard of. We have the same atrocity documented in the Torah when Joseph was sold by his own brothers. This was repeated again when Hebrews in Africa sold their brothers as slaves to the West. And now we have some Hebrew Israelites from these camps in the West repeating the same atrocity, shouting, damn the Nigerians, damn Ghanaians, damn the Benins, not realizing they're damning their own Hebrew brothers. Don't forget, the majority of the Hebrews are in Africa, and our ancestors played a big role in selling fellow Hebrews into captivity. Take time and do a research on the Kingdom of Dahomey, and you will find out they were one of the big players in the capture and enslaving of many of their neighbors. Dahomey is a member of the 12 tribes, playing a major role in the selling of fellow Hebrews into slavery. It is not only the tribe of Dan who did this. Other groups in the Congo also did this. So you want someone to blame. You want someone to damn. I suggest we look closer to home. The leaders of these Hebrew tribes apologized. They are Hebrews because they are aware of the history. They now realize their ancestors had sold their own brothers and sisters into slavery. When a man points a finger at someone else to blame them, he should remember that 3 of his fingers are pointing back at himself.
Against slavery started in Africa, and the rebellions against slavery in Africa are probably the most under-discussed and underrepresented element of the whole history. Everyone tells you that Africans collaborated, which is true. What they don't tell you about is those Africans that rebelled. And in fact, scholars estimate now, that it has been studied thoroughly, that the rebellions in Africa alone, of which there were hundreds, prevented perhaps 1 million people from crossing the Atlantic. Prevented perhaps 1 million people from crossing the Atlantic. Prevented perhaps 1 million people from crossing the Atlantic.
Many of the African leaders over in Africa, when they found out what was really happening to enslaved African people, when they found out that they were being taken from Africa and not being brought back, when they found out how inhumane many of the Africans were being treated, many of the African leaders fought the Europeans back, and that's a story that they never like to talk about. One person in particular was a queen, Madame Tinubu, who was a leader in the area we now know as Nigeria. When she found out what they were doing to the Africans, she fought vehemently against the British. She fought vehemently
from the bottom of our hearts, deep from our bottom of our hearts. But one thing that I want you to be aware of, it was not without resistance. Some of our chiefs did fought and resisted. Some of our people did fought and resisted. But we are fighting a losing battle against a stronger army. People with guns, and we had no guns. They deceived us with liquor and all other temptations. Whatever the circumstances that led us to us, we stand here to render apology. And it's my wish and prayer that this apology is accepted. It's accepted by our brothers and sisters from the diaspora.
When they stepped in at 1848, so the Europeans, they continued to fight Africa's tribals.
Right.
Leaders of Africa's tribals to keep everything.
Right.
And then some African leaders say no. That's why if you go to museum, if you go to ask about Senegal history, they have some names like African leaders say no, fight Europeans.
Right.
We have about Aline Jata, is a woman. She died in Mali, like Timbuktu.
Okay.
Because the Europeans, when they deport that ladies, she died in Timbuktu. We have Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba.
Yes.
He's another leader. He said
yes.
No, we don't believe you, we don't know you. They don't want. It's also resistance. We have Malamin Jame, we have Sheikh Matar, too many leaders. If you go to museum, go to history,
yes.
So you get that names.
From King Mvemla Nzinga of Congo. This is probably the greatest example of African kings being more concerned with spiritual or moral uprightness than national security itself. King Mvemba converted to Christianity and was a genuine believer. He was said to be very enthusiastic about his newfound faith, and this of course excited the Portuguese because now they had a viable African king they could clearly manipulate. King Mvemba frequently wrote letters to King Manuel of Portugal. King Manuel, in attempts to butter up the African king, would often refer to King Mvemba in his letters as his royal brother. Ironically, King Mvemba was more spiritually Christian than the very people that converted him. He became increasingly disheartened and confused by the behavior of the Portuguese in his land and began to write many letters. The letter of King Mvemla Nzinga of Congo is such a great resource in understanding the nature of an African king. In a letter to King John III of Portugal, King Mvemba wrote him saying the following: "Each day the traitors are kidnapping our people, children of this country, sons of our nobles and vassals, even people of our own family. This corruption and depravity is so widespread that our land is entirely depopulated. We need in this kingdom only priests and school teachers, and no merchandise, unless it is wine and flour for mass. It is our wish that this kingdom not be a place for the trade or transport of slaves." King Mvemba is also quoted as saying, "In this kingdom, faith is as fragile as glass because of the bad examples of the men who come to teach here, because the lusts of the world and lure of wealth have turned them away from the truth. Just as the Jews crucified the Son of God because of covetousness, my brother, so today he is again crucified." However, his protests were to no avail. King John III showed no sympathy.
Congo was only useful to him only as a source of slaves and revenue. King John replied, "You tell me that you want no slave trading in your domains because this trade is depopulating your country. The Portuguese there, on the contrary, tell me how vast the Congo is and how it is so thickly populated that it seems as if no slave has ever left." So very clearly we see that King Mbemba was so trapped by his higher spiritual and moral standard that he couldn't even see that he was being manipulated by the disingenuous practices of the Portuguese. This, of course, goes back to our last gate. Africans assuming the nature of other people is the same as theirs. Common sense should tell someone that if they're enslaving your people illegally, even aristocrats in your empire, then these people are a threat to national security and should be kicked out.
Alright, so we're still dealing with the resistance to slavery or colonial power, yeah? And we are using now the college textbooks, African history, Western African history, volume 1 still, yeah? And then let's get it in, yeah? Because people believe that it was so much no resistance and all that. This is not true, yeah? Especially from people from my tribe, my own tribe. I got a lot to say about them. But anyway, resistance and occupation. The French advance in West Africa was not confined to the Western Sudan. In 1886, the French resumed direct control of their post in the Côte d'Ivoire, where I come from, yeah, but attempt to extend French influence beyond the Grand Bassam, which is Liberia, yeah, were frustrated by the abundance of centralized African states. Resistance was local and required numerous military actions and unreasonable negotiations. So y'all need to stop believe that no one resisted or whatever. And I'll show you a document about my tribe showing you that they resist even in the time of slavery. Anyway, yeah, keep moving. And this was page 63. Yeah, we on page 64 now. Yeah. So at first, the French hoped that established King Bahanzin, so I think it was King of Dahomey, if I'm not wrong, which is in nowadays Benin. Yeah, the country of Benin. All right. So at first, the French hoped to establish King Bahanzin as a loyal French ruler, protected by France, but still exerting theoretically sovereignty. Yeah. Bahanzin, however, refused to become a French puppet. He was captured and exiled, and Dahomey was carved up into small units, bringing to an end the most centrally organized state in all West Africa. You see what I'm saying? So y'all need to study instead to say that people did not resist it and all that. There was a lot of resistance in Africa. A lot of tribes. Some people used to burn up slave caravans and all that. Y'all don't know. Anyway, yeah, we in page 165, yeah, keep moving for the resistance. Yeah, the resistance of the Delta chief like Jaja, which was an Igbo, if I'm not wrong, yeah, of Opambo or Nana at Benin, present-day Benin, forced the representative of the British government to remove any chief who hindered the plans of British subject. Yeah, so y'all need to understand this resistance is really real. People really resisted. Yeah. Stop letting the Europeans telling you your history. Yeah. I'm talking to black people. Stop letting the Europeans telling you your history. Because your history is rich, is true, it's you're supposed to be proud of it, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Yeah. One thing I like is that slavery did not make black people's history, but rather stopped it. You see what I'm saying? And once again, it was all the will of the Most High. Yeah, because we have sinned. Yeah. So let's keep it. All right. So still dealing with the resistance against slavery, and let's deal with the Chamba people. Yeah. So the Chamba people on Wikipedia, yeah. So Chamba people, also known as Samba, Chamba, Daka, and Chamba and Danga, are an African ethnic group found in the Gongola state of East Central Nigeria and neighboring parts of North Cameroon. They speak two distinctly related languages, Chambaleko and Leko-Mbari languages, and Chambalaka of the Dokoid languages, both of which are Niger-Congo languages. Let's scroll down a little bit and you're going to see something very interesting about it. Yeah, so if you see right here, let's read. The Chamba people were one of the targets of the Fulani jihad in the 18th and the 19th century. They were enslaved and many migrated south into the mountains. They retaliated, become raiding bands who attacked slaves and trading caravans. A minority, or about 50% of the Chamba people, are there to Islam. So once again, do not believe that there were no resistance and there were no fight against enslavement and all that. Yeah, there were tribes. There were entire tribes that used to organize themselves against slave raiders. You see what I'm saying? So once again, we need to stop with the propaganda of the Europeans, yeah, because they're not going to tell you your history for sure. Y'all follow me? Yeah, let's keep moving with my tribe now. Alright, so let's talk about my tribe. So my tribe is commonly known as the KRAHN people or Kru people. Yeah, for those who don't know, or for those who know, we all lumped into Kru people. Don't get it twisted, because I know some people, if they're from Liberia, they'd be like, yeah, but we're not the same, blah, blah, blah. In the ancient time, we used to be the same people, and because of the European intruders and all that, there have been differences between us. Like, I'm from Ivory Coast. In Ivory Coast, the western part of Ivory Coast, or the southern western part of Ivory Coast, is we call Kru. They call us Kru. The Historians call us Kru in Ivory Coast. Now in Liberia, if y'all want to be different and all that, that's y'all. But just in case some people from Liberia come on my page talking about we're not the same people when we actually the same tribe, basically. Yeah. In the ancient time, we spoke the same language. But anyway, let's keep it going. Africans who vigilantly refused to be captured into enslavement. History of the Kru people. Yeah, so let's see. The Kru languages belong to Niger-Congo language family and are spoken by the Kru people. The Kru people are found mainly in southern Liberia and southwestern Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast. Yeah, the Kru tribe is one of the many ethnic groups in Liberia. Let's get down now. Yeah, let's scroll down a little bit and read. Right here, the Kru are known as the African tribe who vigilantly refused to be captured into enslavement. They were viewed as less valuable during the transatlantic slave trafficking because they would rather fight viciously or take their own lives than be captured by the Europeans. In 1856, when part of Liberia was still known as Independent Republic of Maryland, the Kru, along with the Grebo, resisted Maryland settlers' efforts to control their trade. The Kru are strong people who refuse to be controlled by others and will fight for what righteously belongs to them. And what they did not mention was that they were used as sailors on slave ships, rather than slaves. Yeah, because it was too hard to enslave them. Yeah, and not all of them was used as, not a large amount of them, but they were known for their seafaring qualities, skills. Yeah, so just to let y'all know, this is my tribe right there. Yeah, and even on Ivory Coast, on the part where I come from, the French people don't even want to come across us. They used to call us les gens méchants, which means the bad people. So, like, for real, these false narratives that Africans did not resist and whatever, forget about it. This is not true. Yeah, that's my own history right there. The history of my ancestors. People that did not resist, or this is not true. This is what the Europeans want you to believe. Yeah, but the reality is not that. You see what I'm saying? And I'm showing all of these documents for you to understand that our true history, black people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I do not want you to remain ignorant if you are. Yeah? And this is your history, especially people of African descent or diaspora, or, you know what I'm saying, in America and South America, Caribbeans and all that. Yeah, this is also your history, because some crew have been caught. Yes, some crew have been caught to slavery. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, once again, this is your history. Yeah? So don't be fooled by the Europeans when he's telling you that there were no resistance and then Africans sold you and all that, blah, 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 blah. Nah, it's not all that. This is not simply our history. Yeah, there's more to it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? So, the conclusion of all that, if you made it this far, peace to you, shalom to you. Alright, so, the conclusion on all that, I showed you firstly that the Negroes were the real Israelites, and I showed you that all of this evil that is still on us today, and that came upon us back then, that was the will of the Most High. I showed y'all that in the first part. Now, also, I showed you about how Africans, the conception of slavery for Africans is not the same as for the Europeans. I showed you slaves, which they call servants basically, had rights and respect, you know what I'm saying, and they could buy their own freedom and stuff like that. Yeah. I showed y'all about the Arabs, that they began their slave trade 700 years before the Europeans, and that they inspired the Europeans basically because they were the first to enslave black people. I showed y'all about the importance of the slave trade with the plantations, and that they were making a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? These Europeans, so they had to make sure that they was gonna get slaves. I showed y'all that we sold each other. Why? Because we're ignorant and we were at war with each other, and we got manipulated by the Europeans with guns and all this kind of nonsense. Yeah, and still we are remain ignorant today, and we're still at war with each other today, and we need to stop. Yeah, and repent for our sins to the Most High. Yeah, I showed you the resistance against slavery from many tribes and people and chiefs and stuff. Yeah, so please stop with the European propaganda. Yeah, this perpetual European mindset that wants us to stay divided as a people, that wants black people to stay divided. Yeah, that wants the real Israelite to stay divided. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and please search for knowledge. Yeah, I hope I've enlightened you, I've helped you, and that now you have gained knowledge and you know your true identity and your true history. So peace to y'all, love y'all. Shalom, my black family. Shalom.